there's a potential remake in the West of Akira, directed potentially by Taika Waititi and I think executive produced by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, that'd be great if he plays Tetsuo or Canada.
What's the little boy's name that Tetsuo swerves for?
Swerves for Miss Leo.
That's fine. Just get one of his girlfriends. They're age appropriate.
Take that, Leo.
Hello, and welcome back to Gateway to Anime. How are you all? What's going on? Charlie, what up?
Hi, not much. Good to be back here with an old friend. Prodigal son
We're going old school.
has returned.
We're going
Prodigal
old
son
school.
returns.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, welcome back, my friend.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
I didn't know you installed a moat on the way.
It's raining.
Was the drawbridge up when you
No,
got
it really I had to go around the alligators and
But welcome back, Bretty. So good to have you.
good to be back, guys.
You've been in the Hermit Kingdom for this whole period of time.
Yeah.
Western Australia. For
Yeah.
those of you outside of
For
this
those
country
who
who don't
don't
understand
know-
that reference.
for those
but,
who-
I don't know that
Pints?
reference, and I
I
live.
don't
Hasn't
think
been in-
that's a reference, is it?
No.
Do people call it the Hermit Kingdom?
a bunch of people do, yeah. A lot of people in the West,
Ah.
on this side of the
On
country
this
do.
side, yeah. Not when you're there though.
Oh, because you haven't had COVID up
No,
until
they just
now.
call
It's been
everybody
great.
else
What about when the king of
idiots
the
when
hermit
you're-
people
when you're
comes?
Mark McGowan.
there.
Mark McGowan, king of the hermit people.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Brett, always wonderful to have you back in. It's all, it's the whole family's here. The whole family's here.
This is
The
going
original.
gangbusters. You guys
OG.
did a great job, and you don't need me. Thanks for having me back.
Well, the drawbridge
You
was
really
up.
don't
The
need
drawbridge
me.
was up. I don't know how you got in, actually.
Yeah.
I'm swinging it in a rope.
Great to have you back. Graeme, of course, welcome back. The family unit is united again. How are you, man? What's going on?
I feel like I was just caught in bed with someone's wife.
A bit guilty there.
That's it.
I won't be making eye contact with Brett.
That's it. That's how it's going to go.
Just you guys.
So
all
this is
y'all.
actually a tournament arc. The winner
All right.
will be the
Battle
Fight
Royale.
I'm here for it.
All right. So this week we have all gotten together to talk about anime films. Now, this is a topic which is basically a huge gateway because I understand maybe some of you don't have much time in your busy lives, and to watch 400 episodes of a show, it's a bit of an ask. Even watching 12 can be a pain sometimes. So
Even watching 3.
even watching 3. Well,
No,
3 is a
I'm
movie.
joking.
But
3's easy.
God, it's funny. I have
And
the
then they
opposite.
catch you.
Look, me
Opposite
too.
problem where I'm like, I couldn't possibly commit to a movie. I'm like 5 seasons and just sit there and just like smash through it.
But look, if you're into season 4 of this season, you've probably watched a couple of animes by now. Hopefully, you have.
No, this will be the one.
This is the one. But no, look, I mean, even if some of these films as well, 3 out of the 4 films we're going to talk about are older and are massive gateways into not just the genre, but just even anime itself coming over to the West in the first place. So these are influential as hell. These are unbelievably important films. And it's been pretty crazy that we haven't talked about them already. So we thought we'd have to get the OG team back together. We probably should have done this episode back in season 1. Here we are to talk about some massively influential and important anime films. If you haven't seen them, you got to go watch them. And if you have, I would strongly suggest going back and checking them out because my God, do all of these films still hold water and still pushing boundaries and influential today. So let's talk about what is quite possibly the most influential anime film, or arguably piece of anime of all time.
Ponyo.
I
Goddamn.
love
Look, I love
Ponyo.
Ponyo, but
Right.
that is a great film.
We're
But
not,
of course-
we're not doing Ghibli. We need to
Obviously,
just
we talked.
stop
We did
that.
our
We've
Ghibli
done it.
episode before.
Yeah.
We know that. But these films were also a great introduction to the more adult way of making cartoons, and it wasn't really done in the West until Japan kind of smashed in with these films. So, Brett, why don't you tell us about the OG, the phenomenon that is and was Akira?
Well, thank you for letting me do this one because, I mean, I love film. I work in film. This is sort of the penultimate or the paramount of Japanese animation hitting the West, as you sort of mentioned in the introduction. In 1989, this little known film hit the US market called Akira, and nobody had ever seen anything like this before. You got to understand, up until this point, like cartoons were Disney, they were Hanna-Barbera, they were Looney Tunes. There were things with, I guess you'd had
Transformers and things that were kind of geared to selling a product.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Was
in the
maybe
West,
almost the most adult.
An amazing movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
But Akira was pretty special in just introducing, and this is when I saw it, I still didn't know what anime was. I probably saw it in the late 90s, 10 years after it came out. But this film, was widely received in the West as one of the best sort of introductions to Eastern culture that I guess we had Akira Kurosawa, we'd had all these great films come out, but this was like one of their first sort of cultural sort of gives to the West.
Yeah, it was the first one that really sort of broke any kind of mainstream in the West, and like there've been, for those who were very, very, very informed, there were others, but this is the one that kind of broke mainstream.
Akira, I've got a few notes here. Like one of the biggest things that I found quite interesting is that its infamy was to do a lot with its stunning visuals as well. It was something that really hadn't really captured proper motion in animation up until this point. We were starting to do visual effects and things, but they started to do a lot more pictures per frame to actually make the story work. So they went sort of from the Studio Ghibli, which was like 12 pictures per frame as a steady for the entire film. And Akira did this, but then went to 24. And it's just absolutely beautiful the way the action
the flows.
It's fluid. It's real.
The color scheme.
And because it's controlled, it's not even hard cuts like you have in live action. You have to go to the next scene. It can just keep going. And we weren't used to that.
Motorcycle chase scene.
Yeah.
And aped across every genre of
TV
shows.
The slide.
I clocked it. It goes for like 8 minutes or something.
It
goes for a long.
It's so good.
It's paired perfectly with sound and music as well.
Oh man, the soundscape, soundtrack.
We're getting quite excited about Akira, the idea, but like, just
what is
so
it
you know
about?
what, like Akira, in a sense, it's. I just pull this straight from the internet because it's such a sprawling sci-fi narrative that if I went down the rabbit hole, I would have lost myself. So just so you're aware of what it is loosely about, it's essentially it starts off setting up this world where a nuclear bomb was set off in Tokyo after ESP experiments on children go awry in 1988. In 2019, 31 years after the nuking of the city, Canada, a bike gang leader, tries to save his friend Tetsuya from a secret government project. He battles anti-government activists, greedy politicians, irresponsible scientists, and a powerful military leader until Tetsuya's supernatural powers suddenly manifest. And then there's a great battle at the end. I don't want to...
Can't really.
Yeah. That's pretty much all you need to know to watch it.
And you don't want to... I don't want to go into the details of how they get there, of course, but go watch it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's well worth it.
I spoke to someone today who said to me that their first anime and the only anime they ever watched was Akira.
Oh, right.
And he goes, and it made me laugh though, because he was like, yeah, I loved it. It's really cool. And he goes, what happened? And I kind of went, yeah, I don't really know. Like, I was like, I don't think, but he was like, it didn't seem like it mattered, but and I was like, look, there is obviously a storyline, and people will probably shade me for saying that. Like, it's obviously a very, clear storyline, things happen, but like, I think a lot of the appeal about it was the aesthetics, how different it was, like how amazing it looks, the sound, as you were saying, everything. And like also the sci-fi, the noir-esque kind of like neo-noir stuff that is so popular in a lot of our media as well. I think it just like ticked a lot of boxes. So
when did Blade Runner come out?
It's early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
But it's got that dystopian, fractured kind of feel to it. Yeah. I think what's so interesting about films, a couple of films that came out around that time, like Grave of the Fireflies, was Tokyo was still in healing from like a lot of their their films and their stories were about technology destroying, not, creating. So
all the Godzilla movies. That's just
that's another reason.
Really.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Analogies for the bomb and what they were going through, but this was starting to become a process of understanding, and I guess they were starting to, I hope, heal, but they were also starting to embrace this as part of their culture. This is something that happened. This is something that we need to talk about, and these are some of our fears. And these are some of the things we need to get out there.
It's also in the 80s when Japan went into its sort of its economic golden
big
age,
boom,
when it became
big boom
the
time.
center of technology.
And this was the golden age in Japan for cinema. So we had our golden age of cinema in the West in the 1920s, the Roaring 20s. It was 1980s. So they went from in 1970, they had 49 films created in that decade. Yeah. Then the 1980s, they had 200 films.
Yeah, wow.
That would be huge now. I don't even know if we'd be able to, count that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant amount of talent starting to show as well. It's 3 decades of anime creators starting to come to the top.
Absolutely. And all of the kind of children of Osamu Tezuka, obviously, who made Astro Boy, all of these guys were starting to come into their own in the 80s. Like, this was a huge time for anime. And it just, the influence is still seen today. There's the Rick and Morty episode, I think not this latest season, but the last season, where, they go, we've got a problem here. We've got these people going Akira, like they've got,
that's right.
they bring
the
these,
Akira
we got Akira problem here. It's you see it everywhere. And the motorcycle bit, it's been emulated by so many.
The jacket with the pill on the back.
In animation, I imagine in anime, I haven't been in an animation class, but he rebuilds his arm. Tetsuo rebuilds his arm.
That is an extraordinary piece of animation.
It's still to this day. You watch it in YouTube videos broken down. The detail in it is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's something new. I think.
Should just very quickly mention that the manga was written by Katsuhiro Otsuma, and the film was directed by Katsuhiro Otsuma. So it's a proper auteur piece as well.
Yeah, Otsuma is he's one of the seminal figures in manga and anime, and none more so than this, and his influence, we'll talk about it later, but his influence on others in the next generation, massive. Otsuma is, he's god tier stuff, and Akira is still, like I say, you go watch it now and you'll still be blown away by its animation now, from 1988. It's over 30 years old.
The big players in the West in the 80s, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, they knew this stuff was happening. They knew Nausicaa, had come out. They knew Castle in the Sky. I know they're Ghibli films, but they were starting. They couldn't really work out how this would ever find an audience.
Yeah, because
they were just so ingrained in writing for a Western audience.
Yeah,
but what they didn't realize is that we might be interested in what Eastern, audiences are interested in as well.
Totally.
But I think, the storyline and the kind of idea of delinquency and the kind of gang of youth kind of versus coming up, I think it was really popular, particularly in the 80s and 90s here as well. So it was the right thing to come along. It's funny. I was just thinking about how Stranger Things obviously borrowed a lot from it too.
Massively.
Which obviously is a massively Stranger Things deliberately as homage to everything from the 80s. You've got the Goonies, you've got this kind of thing. And Akira's the Goonies on crack.
Yes.
Not really. But anyway, I think it's you got kind
Lost
of
Boys.
Yeah, that kind of vibe. So it's sort of that sort of
Warriors. Stand by me.
Oh God.
The Warriors.
Absolutely. The Warriors is the best example that I just forgot to say.
Great, yeah, and look,
The Goonies is the worst example.
The Goonies
followed
on
by
crack was
Stand
out
by Me. But you know what? The Warriors. It's great.
The Warriors. Come out and play.
If you like The Matrix. The original, all of them, or the original.
Hugely
like Blade Runner, then you're going to love this film. It's well worth it. It still stands up. I was very lucky to catch a screening about 2 years ago at on the big screen.
Dendy, yeah.
It was a proper event. Event cinemas, screen. Not that Dendy's not proper, but it was in the heart of Burwood, and it was a great experience. Sunday afternoon, it was absolutely packed.
Oh, right.
I
That's
was.
Awesome. When I went to see Demon Slayer, I was probably the only male there, and probably the only person who was over 20.
That's such a crew.
Were you arrested in here? It's probably going to be me.
I went to see the Naruto musical, and I was. There was 3 people in the cinema, so there you go. was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. But Akira is always playing. Like every year, someone will do an event at the cinema, and I recommend seeing it on the big screen because I saw it at the Chauvel, which is a smaller cinema, but it was really great. And often they'll be playing it on different kinds of with different kinds of film. I don't know, but is that what it is?
You go to
I know.
a lot of people go to the cinema. They'll go see June because it's
on
big
8 millimeter.
visuals. They'll go see Lord of the Rings, big visuals. But I go for sound. I want
to sit there with my hands over my
listen to people
Auditory
rumble
experience.
popcorn and chew on their Shoutouts.
Face the opposite way.
Oh man, it's
Graeme comes and just acts it out for me. Like,
I mean, but as our resident drawer, Graeme. I mean, right? It just looks extraordinary still to this day, right?
Yeah, it's like Brett was saying earlier on. It's the amount of frames they use per second. They like most animation is filmed on 2s, so you have your keyframes and then you have filler in between. But this is each action has got its own like highly detailed drawing. There's a scene where he's got a crowbar and he's trying to hit another motorcyclist and it comes off and the bike flips and stuff. That's each one of them is a drawn picture rather than a filler between it.
Interesting.
Just fluid motion. Yeah, it's fantastic.
The color grading, the color scheme, like the colors made for
it's got that
this
late
piece.
80s sort of
Scale.
Japanese
Scale's
style.
huge. And a lot of the shot choices, you might want to chat about this too. A lot of the shot choices are stolen now, like in terms of perspective and what's in the foreground. And one of the reasons I love animation and anime is you can't do some of that stuff in camera unless you've got a huge
impossible.
VFX budget.
Yeah, and even
You
then,
still can't.
no, not possible.
That's why a lot of them don't work as live actions as well because you need an infinite budget. I think, I'm not sure if we've mentioned, but I think that what's interesting about film in the 80s from anime and what Graham's going to talk about as well and what you're going to talk about, Sam, is that like I think that anime TV shows had a reputation of being kiddie, but the films were super adult. So that's kind of like, this is interesting. It really does follow kind of that kind of theory, which is interesting. I don't know why that's a thing.
Yeah, because like some of these films are, especially the one I'm about to talk about, it's like real messed up. And, that kind of that anime, there's a few stigmas attached to anime, right? One is child for children. The other is that it's fucked up and weirdly sexualized. But this was like the beginning of the West going,
oh,
these can be adult.
Yeah.
These can be made for adults.
Why couldn't they?
Cartoons. Like it just hadn't really been done properly in the West. And Akira,
we still struggle with that. I guess that is a big reason why we wanted to start this, or you wanted to introduce this to me, was to understand more about how it can
animation.
There's just everything.
tell a story.
Of course, and of course, you can do anything. You can control so much more of the aesthetic. I mean, like Arcane, of course. Like my lord, such a great piece of animation, and yes, of course, kids can enjoy it, but it's very adult. And it's like we're starting to move that way, but Japan were miles ahead of everybody else in this front. And Akira, a perfect example of that. And my lord, you got to watch it if you haven't seen it. I mean, and if you have, go and watch it again because
watch it at the cinema.
Go to the cinema. If it's not at the cinema, go to the cinema. Bring some friends, even if they haven't seen anime. This could get them in. And then get them to listen to this podcast.
And then you'll
everyone wins.
Then you'll impress that mysterious kid in your film too when you get asked what your favorite film is, and you say Akira, and then they look at you and they go, "Cool."
Yeah,
cool.
And that's me.
Smoke a
So
cigarette.
cool. And then you're like, "Get away from me, lady. I'm 18, and you're like, what are you doing in this class? I can't." Anyway, sorry.
I'll just add too. I put
True story
Akira
from
up
Chuck.
there in like maybe not my top 10, but top 20 films of all time.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's pretty good though.
pretty good.
Brett is a film boy.
Film boy.
Respect.
The drawer and the film boy.
Drawer
that we
and
have
film boy
here.
over here.
Wow. We should rob banks.
Yeah, we do a good job.
Something, I don't know.
While we're in this era, we should probably talk about one of the other most influential anime films of all time. One which, again, has inspired so many films in the West. Graeme, why don't you talk to us about Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah. Ghost in the Shell, like Akira, aimed at an older audience, but it's also in that sort of, I don't want to say cyberpunk, but I guess it is cyberpunk.
It's totally
It couldn't be
cyberpunk.
more cyberpunk if it tried.
It is
cyberpunk.
cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Just makes you think of that game and game.
Yeah, the game sucks.
But it's also-
it is that genre. It's not
But
steampunk.
The game doesn't suck for a lot of people though.
Steampunk.
It's huge.
Steampunk.
Some people like it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I was
Yeah.
robbed of my 30th that was going to be themed steampunk.
Steampunk.
You hate steampunk.
Yeah, but imagine like
We've
a bunch
established
of
on this
people.
show how much you hate.
I know, but imagine like forcing people to dress up in steampunk and having
gears
like,
and
yeah,
shit.
Yeah,
and
that is
like,
a real dick move.
and just like I was gonna have the lighting like a bit too bright, and everyone and like a trestle table, just make it like a bit sad, like
Yeah.
because I think it's an aesthetic steampunk, like embarrassing steampunk from the early 2000s. Not like I think that anime that's set like I think Ghibli, I think that stuff is beautiful, but
Full Metal Alchemist.
I mean 2000s steampunk, you know, when that
Okay,
became
yeah, I know
a
what you're
thing.
talking about.
That's a
I've
very
been
niche
I did a
thing.
doco on LARPers, and the human race were all steampunk. Like they were, it was horrible.
Exactly,
Like,
that's what I want.
I'm thinking the costumes.
That's
It's
what I
it's
want.
borrowing tubes and yeah.
Anyway, side
Yeah.
note,
Let's
cyberpunk.
Go
go
Sorry.
to Cyberpunk. Yeah, so it's based on a manga, a seinen manga series, written by Masumi Shiro in 1980. I'll give you the little synopsis that I also stole from Wikipedia because I'm lazy.
Hey, they do it. They do it well.
Yeah.
Give them your money if you can. They're
I
struggling
do it
apparently.
every time. I give them like $15. And I do it, and the next day I go on to fucking Wikipedia and like, can you give us money? I was like,
Yeah.
I just gave you money.
Just gave you money.
What are you doing with me?
And then they send you like personal emails. It's like we
God,
really
I feel
need your
so
money.
bad. I never give money and I use it all the time. I should. No, I should.
$3 a year.
$3 for all the information.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I couldn't live my life without it. Like,
Yeah.
well,
It got me through uni. I don't know about you.
As you're referencing on that, but yeah.
It's like, the best thing about it is you can go
JSTOR?
in and
Nah.
the best thing about
Wikipedia?
it is you can go in and edit it to your own devices and then submit it.
Do we have a Wikipedia? Should we make one?
We should make one.
The
Don't-
undisputed king.
all
Old
anime
anime
podcasts.
Oh, we all know who the
We're
undisputed
making
king
this
is.
tonight.
Before this comes out and you get to do it yourselves.
Don't edit our Wikipedia page, please. Leave us alone.
Nah, do be
Nah,
funny.
do it. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, all holds barred. Like,
great. Yeah, Graeme lives in the sea. Yeah, sounds
Yes,
about right.
correct. That's a
Anyway.
solution to everything.
I live in a moat.
Well, you got to cross the moat. Yeah.
I just got out of bed.
The year is 2029, which is coming up pretty quickly.
That's it. Oh, jeez.
Technology has advanced so far that cyborgs are commonplace. In addition, human brains can connect directly to the internet.
Neuralink, baby. Just killed a bunch of monkeys, actually.
What?
You know,
What do we want?
Neuralink, the idea of this exact thing,
But-
they're like connecting to the internet, and
Did someone do this?
Elon Musk is trying to make this a thing. Neuralink is his company. Just killed like a ton of monkeys.
I was going to say, you just.
No, dead serious.
With
You
the
lost
technology,
your
or
Yeah,
just
no, he
because
was
he was
implanted
bored
them
and
with
lean?
these prototypes
Probably
of
Yeah, right.
of Neuralink technology. They all died. So we're still a way off 2029. So we've got some time till
So
we're
Sam's
here.
calling bullshit on the
6
storyline.
years.
Sam's like, this is just incorrect.
Well, no, we've still got a few years.
Science
Still got a few
is,
years
I
till we're
thought
there.
you were just like,
The
yeah,
science
Elon
from
Musk
19
is just that
what
rich.
was
He's
it,
just out
1991?
baseball batting monkeys.
Sam's
doing today? We're
disputing
killing
the
monkeys.
science from the 1980s.
I'm
when
just
the manga was
saying
written.
that just happened. It's an interesting point.
It is interesting. No, it is. And I'm
We're
intrigued.
trying it. We're trying this
I will,
stuff now.
I will Wikipedia that later. Thanks.
Wikipedia that
We're
later.
trying
I'll
to make
edit it.
Scarlett Johansson live forever.
Let's save that for a minute.
We'll save that.
So it's the movie follows the main character. Of course, it follows the main character.
It does.
I'm not a film boy. She works for Section 9, which is like an elite area of the police that deals with like cyber crimes and like cyborgs. And she is on the hunt for a mysterious sort of mastermind called the Puppet Master, who tends to take over people's like their technology, their firmware to do crimes or commit terrorist acts and stuff.
It's
very
so
much
good,
fun.
man.
It's
It's
great.
so,
Yeah.
but also what a concept for the late 80s, early 90s. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's
Like,
coming
it was written in 1980.
Yeah, they didn't even know about the monkeys.
They didn't even know about the monkeys in 2022. That's
Or
no clue.
did they?
Oh, did they?
Or did they? But
And they
again,
wouldn't have even seen like Blade Runner by that
no,
stage.
no.
Yeah.
Like this is it's so like Japanese sci-fi, especially like early on 80s, 90s, early 2000s, even like the prescience, like the amount of like. We spoke about Serial Experiments Lane in our psychological thrillers episode. Like, and you even said, like, was the mangaka a time traveler? Like, same thing here. Like, you just sit there and like, man, they were on top of this well before everybody else. Like,
Well, this is the thing about sci-fi. You're predicting the future. You look at
yeah,
Jules
but they're
Verne's-
always right.
in
And
the
then-
18th century was like people are going to go to the moon and rocket fucking shit.
Yeah,
It's a little bit
yeah.
like what we said, like they, like,
Jules
like
Verne
a
and
lot of
whatnot, yeah.
a big part of the heart of Japan was destroyed by technology and
Yes.
the aggression of technology.
Yes.
But they took that on board and they became absolute pioneers.
They still are.
and
Yeah.
still are. But like at that period in time, it was all about Japanese technology and
true.
electronics.
Yeah, big
and
boom. Yeah,
I think so.
absolutely.
It was
fascinating.
very much. It was very much more part of their culture, I think. than
Well,
it
we're
was
talking about
West.
the country that sort of giant robots, Astro Boy. Like,
Okay, yeah.
they've always had their eye on robotics and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is just a sort of study of like what happens when technology and humans blend.
Yes.
Like, are you a human if your brain is in a robot body? Once you start taking pieces of your body and replacing machinery, are you technically a human? Are you more computer?
Extremely philosophical. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Bicentennial Man starring.
AI starring
The absolute
Joel Osment.
jewel in the crown of the genre.
Can I just say though, like when I watched it again a couple of years ago,
Bicentennial Man.
I haven't. I watched that like every month.
He dies at the end. It's fucking heartbreaking.
It's very sad at the end.
But the one of the ones that I always thought, like in terms of conversation starters, that kept popping up when I thought about Ghost in the Shell. I still haven't seen this live action. I guess we're going to talk about that.
No, we did that on a previous podcast, and it's best
sure.
not seen.
Yeah, no, I just don't watch it.
Because I was going to lead in with like
A lot of good
the
visuals.
Akira one
A lot of good visuals.
that's going to learn from it.
Well, interesting. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, they think they're going to learn from it
potentially.
No, they're not.
in terms of casting.
Taika.
Taika Waititi. Yeah, we need to talk
Yeah.
about this. There's a potential remake in the West of Akira, directed potentially by Taika Waititi and
Which
I think
it
executive
hurts.
produced by Leonardo DiCaprio,
It
who's one of the
hurts.
biggest fans of that film. You know, like
He's
that's-
been rumored to be producing or being in it
He's
since
he's
the
EPing it.
2000s.
Oh, that'd be great if he plays Tetsuo or something like that.
that would be very weird.
Can't
but-
even- just
Or no.
old
Oh,
Leo.
what's
Sure.
the
That'd be
little
great.
boy's name that Tetsuo swerves for? And imagine if he played like
shit.
Benjamin Button style. It's like
Swords for Miss
Yeah,
Leo.
I can't remember the name.
That's fine. Just get one of his girlfriends. They're age appropriate.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry.
Take that, Leo.
Sorry.
He's gonna.
that whole
Leo's
chat-
really
sorry,
upset
Graeme.
by
That'll
what
learn
I
him,
said.
yeah.
So
He'll be scrolling through his feed
He's
like,
like, oh,
"Hey,
no."
that anime. Oh, Akira, I love that. Listen.
Oh.
I'll destroy them.
he's signing up to become a patron.
Soon into the ground.
Years.
Was she dragged through a bush? Just completely burned. That's what it is. Leo's commenting on the videos like, no, sure.
Sorry, Leo.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
shit,
that
that's-
tangent went awry.
Sorry, that did go
Graeme,
wrong. That's
but
very funny.
one of the biggest conversations throughout the whole of Battlestar Galactica was
Yes.
what it is to be
Yes,
human.
yes,
and
yes, yes,
that's something that always the Cylons in that always reminded me of that Ghost in the Shell world
Yes.
or how they might have evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's not Ghost in the Shell isn't the first to ask this question, obviously, but like, my lord, did it ask it well? You know,
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty early on though.
it is very early on. But I mean, Battlestar Galactica, the original, was in the 70s, and pretty extraordinary
What a
stuff. But
campy mess that was.
it was shocking. But like, they're asking the questions badly.
Yeah.
But like,
Same with Westworld though. Like the questions are there.
Yes, but Ghost in the
we
Shell-
would definitely.
really asked that question early, and also it's great. It's still, and there's a lot of
So
it. There's a
good.
lot. What other? How many shows are there? There's a lot of. There's
So
movies. There's games.
6
There's,
movies.
Yeah,
Yep.
6
There's
movies.
5 TV shows. There's 5 animes.
Yep.
There's 5 games. There's 5 OVAs. There's there's
Yep.
mangas.
Mangas,
the
yeah.
wazoo.
Where did you get the games? Are they all PC based?
I remember playing it on the PlayStation back in the day before I knew
Okay.
anything
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's
Might be just a lot of them might just be kept in Japan.
In Japan,
But
no,
also,
no
you know,
English subtitles or anything.
You also see it now in like animes like 86. Heavily
Yeah.
influenced by Ghost in the Shell. Any mecha show, Code Geass, like I mean, because it's not a mecha show per se, but like it's got elements of mech in it. It's like the sci-fi elements.
Bubblegum Crisis.
Bubblegum Crisis, like so many.
But I think that it's also Ghost in the Shell is another one of those like the ones that come up like really when I was getting into anime, like it was lauded. Like Akira was there, but also people like Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, which is one of the anime series. Like people
that's a good one.
really, really froth it. And obviously the biggest influence was like it had on the Matrix,
Yep.
that kind of thing. Like
Massively.
there's so many things now. And it's
the Wachowski sisters. Wachowski?
Wachowski
Wachowski
sisters.
sisters. Were absolutely influenced
Enamored.
by Akira and Ghost in the Shell.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ninja Scroll, they were big into anime early and a huge
Well,
influence
they
on
did
a lot of
Speed
their
Racer,
work.
which I fucking
Well, they did
love.
anime.
Yeah,
Speed Racer.
absolutely.
And the Animatrix, obviously, which
Animatrix,
yeah.
of course.
Talked about Matrix
Yeah.
a bunch.
They actually sold the plot of the movie by using like stills from
Ghost in the Shell. Yeah.
the digital ray.
It's part of their pitch.
the plugging into the back of the head for like when she gets serviced. I guess.
Service.
Yeah.
Um, Hugely influential film.
Yeah. Look.
Great
and-
soundtrack too.
Great
Great
soundtrack.
We got it on record because we're that
Really?
cool.
Oh. We're
Coming
pretty-
over.
Vinyl?
Vinyl.
Oh, no shit.
We've got
That's
vinyl
actually- I
Ghost in
haven't
the
seen
Shell.
it.
We've
That's
got
actually really
vinyl
cool.
Akira.
I don't even own a record player, but I think I'd buy that if I saw it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should get it. It's
Yeah.
really cool. It's actually my housemates. They're cooler than me.
Yeah, but
Should have
tie
disclaimed
it up in
that.
the basement.
Yeah, it's me. Only vinyl I have is Oliver Twist the musical.
Brilliant.
Also a banger.
Also a great anime.
By this wonderful morning.
Actually, it's an animated adaptation.
Adaptation.
It's called Oliver and
Friends.
Company.
You've got to
Company-
pick a pocket or two.
Oh, dude, Oliver and Company with the cat as Oliver, and oh my god, that is a sick film. Billy Joel voices the Artful Dodger.
It's probably one of the worst, but best.
It's one of the best
It actually
films
came
I've
out
made,
the
Charlotte,
same
and
year
I
that
won't hear a word
Akira
against
came
it.
out,
There you
and
go.
which I found quite interesting.
Really?
They came out the same year, I'm pretty sure. Oliver and Company,
Oh,
late
really?
80s, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
89.
Not Oliver as in Oliver in,
as
in
in
the
Oliver.
season.
Yeah.
Sorry, not
Oliver
the
and Company,
beloved,
the
not the
superior.
beloved Oscar award winning tragedy.
With Oliver Reed,
ridiculous one
yes.
right now.
They were like direct competitors.
Wow.
Funny enough. I just thought
And what's funny is that
The same
Sam and I,
market.
as children, just backed Oliver and Company. Little did we
yeah.
know that we were like, if you'd
Yeah.
asked us like probably 10 years ago what was a better film, we'd be like Oliver.
Oliver and
In
Company,
fact,
bro.
Sam, I'm surprised it's not a fucking Oliver and Company.
You know what
poster
there
next
should
to the
be. In
Akira.
fact, I'm actually that's a mistake on my part.
I almost wore my shirt today.
Anyway, look, Ghost in the Shell. I mean, yeah, and what would you say is the one to watch of all life?
Out of the two?
Out of the innumerate
Out of Oliver and Oliver and Company, which one?
out of the innumerate Ghost in the Shell.
Watch the movie.
Watch the movie.
Yeah.
You think that's the best one to give?
That's the purest sort of get most of our origin.
Mm.
The film looks amazing. Again, like Akira, it's got that 90s sort of anime style where everything's like hyper detail, like every little bit of machinery is just so over designed and so well thought out.
Depth again, scale.
Yeah. 96 on Rotten Tomatoes, 9.7 on IMDb. Like,
Damn.
it's a classic. Yeah, it's a classic.
Did you ever watch a show, say a Western animated one from MTV? They had a film with Charlize Theron.
Aeon Flux.
Aeon Flux, yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to Ghost in the Shell, right?
Yeah.
That kind of vibe, like.
Cyberpunky future.
Yeah, because I think I watched that when I was really young and it had a huge effect on me. I think it may be because that's obviously influenced by anime. Like,
But Psycho Pass as well. Obviously, anything like that, heavily influenced by Ghost in the Shell. It's all there. It's one of the Godfathers. Ghost in the Shell. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. But you got to check it out. Watch the original film. There's so much there, but check it out. So, Charlotte, why don't you talk to us a little bit about a more modern anime film? I mean, it's not brand new.
We're not keeping in timeline.
No, we're not. We're gonna jump around a touch
Yeah,
here.
it's gonna be good.
Sam wants to have the grand finale.
Oh, it does.
Actually, do you finish every
The
time?
crescendo.
No, sometimes I go
Nice.
first.
Yeah.
We'll put you in the middle next
I very
time.
rarely go in the middle. So
Cunning strategist of podcasting.
All right.
right on.
The rest of us are a rambling mess.
So
There'll be some
Sam
cohesion to this
learns from our
fucking mess.
mistakes. The one I'm doing is funny. Like it is modern because it came out in 2016, but that's not actually that new. There's plenty of other films that have come out recently that I could have done, but this one is something that I wanted to talk about because it's a film that because it was on Netflix for a while. I think it's gone off now actually, but it was on Netflix for a while, and a lot of people stumbled across it, and it kind of hit a different note than Ghost in the Shell Akira. Like. And I know I'm going to laugh at myself because I'm like, I did the rom-com one. Like, I did the funny high school body swap rom-com one.
This is a sci-fi too, really.
It is.
Oh, it is.
Sci-fi. It's
Absolutely
fantasy
it is.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So I did one that
This
is
is
called...
my favorite. Can I just say this is my favorite type of sci-fi where there's like a one world rule change.
Yeah.
Yeah, in our world. Like, I love it.
Yeah, no, and this is a brilliant
Like
film.
the short film we made together all those years ago.
Stunning. Exactly
Yeah.
like that. It's actually this is an animated adaptation of that. So Your Name is the English title for Kimi no Na wa, and it is, it's called Your Name. It came out in 2016. I'll tell you general synopsis is basically, to put it in the plainest terms like I usually do, it's about a girl who lives in rural traditional Japan in modern setting. So, and she goes to high school, but she lives in a shrine. So her family traditionally have run a shrine. They make sake traditionally through their mouth. They're kind of it's a rice kind of very traditional, but
Mashing kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they live a very traditional kind of life, but she still is a modern day high school girl who just goes to school, rides a bike around. It always looks amazing. Every time they're riding their bike, I'm like, damn, I want to live there.
Yes.
It's
They're my
like,
favourite
beautiful.
animations. Yeah,
Oh my
they're-
God. The ocean, they like live on this like big cliff, like island, beautiful place. Anyway.
That's the dream, man. That's the dream. If I could retire
Not
on
for
an
this-
ocean cliff
Hey, let her finish.
and just make
It's not for
sake.
this girl.
Come on, man.
Not for this.
But that's
girl.
not her dream, Sam. See, she
No, well, she's a
goes,
fool.
she's
But
like,
anyway.
you know what? She's over her life because she's a bit embarrassed because people at school are kind of like a bit off her traditional life and the shrine and everything. So she's like, damn it, I just wish that I was a modern, like, city boy. Literally, she wants to be like a city boy. Cut to, there is a boy who is a classic. Like, he lives in an apartment with his father. He is a modern day city boy, high school boy that lives in Tokyo. So he's a fast-paced life. He works part-time at a restaurant. He studies with his friends, and that's what she longs for. Anyway, flash forward, and basically what happens is they end up swapping bodies because they wish on a shooting star. He's like, I wish I could have a more quiet life. And she's like, I wish I had a city slicker life. So basically it's a body swap. So they wake up in each other's bodies.
One of them is Jamie Lee Curtis.
And the other one is
One of
Lindsay.
Lindsay
Lohan.
Lohan.
Friday.
The Frankie time.
So what happens then is basically they just have, they end up, they bring different things to each other's lives and they are both helping each other through their own daily life and they learn a lot about each other and like in each other's bodies and it's that they swap back and forward. So when they go to sleep, they wake up and some days it's just like random and they'll swap. And then something happens and I don't really want to say because it will spoil a fuckload and the film was one of those things where I was watching and I was like, oh, cool, like rom-com, like there's like a J-pop song that's like, and they're like having a good time riding my bike in the mountain. Then suddenly I'm like, oh God, this is horrific and really sad all of a sudden.
Right.
Classic anime.
So yeah, it really will, it will get to you.
Are
And
they,
Great
are they like
storytelling.
aware of each other that have swapped? Are they like,
they're aware, yes.
yeah, they know?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, no, they've never met each other, but they have
They
a
will.
phone and they can read like texts from each other. So they can kind of be like, they can give each other hints about what to do and they figure out what's going on.
Right.
So the third act of this film takes a very different turn and we kind of follow and it becomes like a bit of an adventure suspense and it's really, really good. But one thing that's really notable about this film is that people often, and you'll see it a lot online, is people compare the skylines of the cities. So they actually like animated real places and it's beautiful. Like the way this is animated, the way it's done. There's a lot to do with like a lot of motifs of shooting stars and that kind of thing. And like when they wish upon it and there's a lot of stuff.
And
A lot of sky, landscape, and because they based it on real places, so
It's stunning.
there's like scenes you can see like shot by shot where they've like got people actually riding bikes next to them and they've animated it, and it's just like it's stunning, and it makes you really want to go to Japan.
This one could be live action. And
Yeah.
you've seen the live action version many times through. There's a beauty to the way that it's animated, the way that it's scored.
I also think what makes it interesting is that because they've got the country rural life and the city life, I think that in Japanese, and also I think it would be the same if you had a country life in Australia and city life in Australia
Rural
too.
and urban.
But
yeah.
you get to see like rural in Australia, rural in Japan, rural in America, all completely different.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And even city life in Japan, city life in Sydney, city life everywhere. And I think it's cool because this film really shows like the differences there, which we might not we can read that on paper and be like, she lives in rural Japan, but I don't know what that means. And this really, I think, sums up the daily life stuff for both of them really well.
Yeah.
So you get an idea about what modern living might mean for somebody who lives in rural Japan.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big question that's been coming up in Japanese media. I mean, Miyazaki, one of
Yeah,
the great questions he
he
asks
started
all
it
the
from
time
the
is
beginning,
modernity versus traditional, right? And what better example of that than rural versus urban, and especially because Japan, last major nation to modernize, they did it so fast, coming from a very feudal society to a very modern society unbelievably quickly. And so obviously as a cultural question, that's fascinating. And this film does that really well, but through a very personal story. And I think you're right, because it's not a sci-fi, it's body swap, sure.
Well,
okay.
it's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy sci-fi, sure, but it's not, people swapping minds and shooting each other and doing crazy.
No.
It's set in the
Esper
modern.
stuff.
It's set in the modern day.
Yeah,
so
and it's a very domestic story, amongst a sci-fi, and I think that's what's really cool about it. So it's kind of a slice of life meets a sci-fi.
Yeah, it's
so
also
it's just really cool. It's interesting.
that idea of like the modernity versus I think there's another subplot is that like her father is a politician who wants to kind of update the town, and she and her like grandmother runs this shrine still, so she's kind of at terms of becoming like she wants to be kind of modern, but also has this like pull towards her traditional life of it's really good. It's a really good movie, and it really will make you cry. It'll make you happy. or sad, depending on kind of how you go with it. But it's a really good one. And I think that one that a lot of people have watched who have not been really into anything I've recommended for them. You know, like I come up at a loss with like recommending even Ghibli and stuff. They're kind of like, oh, it's a bit kiddie or whatever. Have watched this and been like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Like it's just a really well told, simple story. And it's got the tropes that we all know, body swap, stuff like that. But yeah, the director is called Makoto Shinkai. He has done a bunch of films, but this is probably his most successful.
Yes.
It became the third highest grossing film in Japan, I believe, or third highest anime film of all time. I think at the time it surpassed Spirited Away to be the most, but since then we've had Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, which has beaten it. So now it's the third highest grossing anime film in Japan of all time.
Yes.
Weathering with You was his last film that he did. There's one coming out next year, which was meant to be brilliant. I haven't seen it. Your Name won a bunch of awards. It was like a bit of an Oscar upset that it didn't get nominated for Best Animated.
People are pissed, yeah.
When I had a choice of doing this, I also debated between doing this and a movie called A Silent Voice, which I recommend you go and watch. It's a heartbreaking piece and it probably has one of the best animated sequences of social anxiety I've ever seen in a film. But I do think that Your Name is one
I've been
that's
meaning to see that one actually.
It's fantastic, but it's pretty brutal. So I know everything we're watching is a bit brutal and hectic, and so I was like, I'll come with the kind of brutal, hectic one, but like not really.
Not really
Emotional
compared to Sam's. Who's coming
Yes.
Yeah, well, so yes, I recommend watching Your Name. I think that it'll be good for pretty much anyone, to be honest. It's a really easy, fun, nice watch. It looks beautiful. The characters, it's like a very clear story.
It's just a good film.
It's good.
You know?
Good time.
And it doesn't matter that it's animated. And that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
All right. So I suppose we've now talked about two of the most seminal old school films. And, you know, especially in that, like, anime obviously got very well known for the superhero sort of genre stuff. And Akira and Ghost in the Shell, well, massive sci-fi genre stuff, right? Your Name, still sci-fi, but a little bit more domestic. But now I'm going to talk about something which is, I guess you would call art house, I suppose, and is unbelievably influential and also really messed up. So I'm going to talk about Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue. Now, this is a 1997 psychological horror film. It's based on the novel Perfect Blue by Yoshikazu Takeuchi. Also, it's called Perfect Blue Complete Metamorphosis is its full title. And the screenplay was by Sadayuki Murai. And funnily enough, Satoshi Kon actually adapted the screenplay quite heavily along with Murai. And the only thing was he had a few parameters that he had to hit. It had to be about a pop star. It had to be about a stalker. And that was about it. And he kind of played with the original story quite a bit. So let me extrapolate on that. So the film follows Mima Kirigoe, a member of a Japanese idol group called Cham, who retires from music to pursue an acting career. As she becomes the victim of a stalker, gruesome murders begin to occur, and Mira starts to lose her grip on reality. Now, I won't go any further into it because half the fun, it's not, this film is not fun. But half the battle, half the idea is that the whole concept of this film is the blurring of fiction and reality, right? So let me tell you about Satoshi Kon. Satoshi Kon was born in 1963 and died of pancreatic cancer at just 46 in 2010. He was an acclaimed film director, animator, screenwriter, and manga artist. He was born in Sapporo, Hokkaido, which is the north, and best known for his acclaimed anime films Perfect Blue, 97, Millennium Actress, 2001, Tokyo Godfathers, 2003, Paprika, 2006, amongst a couple of others. But these are the four major films that he made. He also made one anime series called Paranoia Agent, which I've watched, and it's absolutely outstanding. Again, all about the concept of fiction and reality coming to terms with each other and blurring. So, funnily enough, we come full circle. So Kon started out as Katsuhiro Otomo's assistant, and Otomo, of course, being the creator of Akira. This was his first big gig. It was in 1991, and he got a gig as an animator and background designer for Rojin Z, or Z. We've had this debate before.
Which is like,
pick a side, Sam.
3 years after the film.
Yeah. So this is a big gig for a young guy starting
young.
Very young.
Like 21, 22?
Yeah, he was young. It's a big gig. And again, it's this idea of
26 at the most.
Absolutely.
Way to make me feel bad.
But the
it's
idea
like the
of also,
Orson Welles vibe.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, did you change the face of cinema at age of 25?
I'm like, nope. Well, I guess. What's the guy who created Attack on Titan? Born on the same day as me and the same year.
Hajime Isayama.
God,
I'm
Isayama.
talking about him, and he's just doing his shit.
Now owns an
Billie
onsen.
Eilish is
Now
like
owns an
19. I'm
onsen.
never going to be Billie.
He retired to own an onsen.
He hasn't retired, but he's bought an onsen. Now he's just chilling out after it.
bought an onsen?
Yeah, fair
So
enough
he just
too.
runs an onsen?
At the moment, yeah.
That's awesome.
He'll probably write something again later, but anyway, I guess it speaks to the idea of simply how much all of this feeds into each other, not just into how it broke into the West, but the fact that Satoshi Kon was Otomo's apprentice in a way, was his mentor, is quite extraordinary. And you see this all over the manga industry as well. But this is an extraordinary case. So he made his directorial debut with episode 5 of the 1993-1994 OVA of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, for which he also wrote the script and storyboarded. So this is
JoJo fans will find a way into any.
JoJo fans will get into this. So
Going
yes,
into this room though, have they?
no,
Our
not
biggest
yet.
I
shame.
don't know.
It
What
is
you're
our biggest
talking
shame.
about.
Yes,
We honestly,
Yes.
Sam,
It's kind of a blight on this.
I think that we should watch JoJo and do a whole episode dedicated to it and how we feel about it.
we will. I started JoJo's Bizarre Adventure a while
I
back.
started that about 15 years ago.
Yeah, I started it and I was like, this ain't very good. But
Apparently, it's amazing.
but it gets good, is what I've heard. But I haven't got there yet. So like One Piece, it's a flaw in our game.
Great memes though.
We will
Appreciate the
get
memes.
there. But in 1997, Satoshi Kon began on his feature directorial debut, Perfect Blue. It was Kon's first film and was produced by Madhouse, and particularly by producer Masao Murayama. And Murayama invited him to make this film because he just dug that JoJo's episode. He watched that and he's like, "We made this." They're like, this guy's like, "Get in here, guy. Let's make a film together." That's what Madhouse was founded on. It was I think I said in the you all made fun of me. Cool people doing cool things, and that
JoJo's fans finding JoJo's fans.
100%. And that's what he did with Satoshi Kon. Pretty extraordinary thing. So, like I say, only the 4 films and a 13-episode TV anime, which is Paranoia Agent. But his death of pancreatic cancer was very sudden. Yeah. So it was one of those things where he was just at the top of his game, just like bam, 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 making all this cool stuff. He was like the auteur, the art house auteur of anime coming into the West, out of Japan. And he got pancreatic cancer in 2010, dead in a month. Just gone, dead.
It's
Very, very sad. Didn't tell anybody, sort of just retreated back home.
Godfathers of Tokyo, Perfect Blue.
Millennium Actress, yeah.
But those 3, they pop up all the time in the top anime films of all time.
And if you're a film student, Charlotte, everyone.
That was a long time ago, Sam.
It was. I'm retired.
Oh, you
man.
better believe that I bought
She
up
runs
the
an onsen
pre-card.
now.
Of course you do.
Yes.
That's a pre-card.
Me and Isayama like, what up? I'm like, why'd you do that ending, bro?
Yeah.
He's like, leave me alone.
Leave me alone. I'm folding towels.
God.
Anyway, there is an unfinished film called Dreaming Machine, and it remains so. It has been attempted to be finished by Madhouse and Murayama in particular, who was the person who really gave him his shot. But several times he's tried to remake this, and about 600 of the 1,500 shots have been animated. But Murayama now believes that someone else should take on the project and make it their own, because he's tried to make it so many times. But he's like, you know what? No one's Satoshi Kon. So someone now needs to take the IP and just make it
Osmo's
their
still
own.
Make
alive.
something new.
He is, but again, it's like, I think it needs to be something
It's someone
new. And
else.
He's
It's
figured
like-
this out. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
it's just one of those weird situations where everyone's like, when's Dreaming Machine going to get finished? And Murayama's finally, after all these years, been like, you know what? It's not going to be.
It's great that he has that foresight to actually, or that resolve to actually say, this isn't for me. This could be in better hands.
Yeah, well, I think he just sort of realized that no matter what he does, this is going to be a weird, like,
And
someone trying to finish something that someone else made. It never works.
And some
you know?
studio might pick it up and come in and be like, let's put a song here, or like, let's do this.
Whatever, it'd be
Or,
something.
you're
It'd just be
like-
something. So his influence was so far-reaching, and he was mentioned among the fond farewells and Times People of the Year 2010. Darren Aronofsky wrote a eulogy for him for a Japanese retrospective book on his animation career, and both Aronofsky and Guillermo del Toro have expressed how much Kon influenced them. Many critics have also noted the similarities of Christopher Nolan's Inception to Paprika.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Big time.
But I mean, let's be real. Darren Aronofsky, like, you're not fooling anyone. You're literally
no.
taking shots and you're taking storylines.
Black Swan is basically Perfect Blue. Like, it's unbelievably similar. But Aronofsky admits,
Guillermo del Toro gets away with it, but
well, look, I mean, he's pretty. For example, there's a very famous shot in both Requiem for a Dream and Perfect Blue with the main character huddled in the fetal position in a bath and screaming underwater. That is a direct take from Perfect Blue. So Kon was himself greatly influenced by, of course, Akira Kurosawa, Terry Gilliam, Haruki Murakami, of course, Philip K. Dick, and of course, Osamu Tezuka. If you work in manga in the 80s and 90s, you're influenced by Osamu Tezuka. But however, his greatest influence was the musician Susumu Hirasawa. And Kon's idea of fractal control came from Hirosama, who has applied fractal generating programs to his music production. So this guy also did the score for Berserk and the theme of Millennium Actress, which was actually played at Satoshi's funeral. So like, interestingly, like this guy, it's really interesting the more you get into this, like, and I've only just started to, I haven't done enough research to really make a thesis on this, but like music, the relationship between music and art and especially manga and anime, massive. Just obviously why we spoke to Kevin Penkin, and if we speak to him again, I'd like to ask him these sorts of questions because like it is so fascinating to me, like how much that of all the people, it was Susumu Hirasawa that Satoshi Kon rates as his greatest influence. And like that's a musician who did some really weird sort of art housey kind of stuff.
Interestingly, Gerald, when we talked about Berserk, was like, can't stop listening to that soundtrack. So there you go. Must have been good.
Right there, man.
We kind of mentioned it when I was talking about Akira, but
extraordinary.
Very extraordinary. Like they use like real-time traditional instruments synthesized, like using synth, but synthesized with 80s techno beats.
Modern stuff at the time. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But Satoshi Kon, I mean, the mixture of fiction and reality are key components of Kon's work. So Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, and Paprika all feature this concept prominently, as does Paranoia Agent, the TV series. So the character designs and backgrounds in Kon's work appear to be aiming for realism. However, Kon's goal is not to depict landscapes and people that look as if they are real, but to depict the moments when landscapes and people that look as if they are real suddenly reveal themselves to be fiction or pictures. Very Murakami. So his ability to depict a realistic world that he demonstrated working on others' films, such as Otomo's films that he worked on, is utilized in his own works to most effectively show the drop of transition from reality to fiction. The world that appears to be real in Kon's work does not remain real, but it's suddenly transformed into an unfamiliar world in order to disorient the audience. This is why he insisted on working in animation rather than in live action. So, for example, Perfect Blue, right? It's so disorienting, and I think the best word I can use to describe Perfect Blue is unsettling. And this film is fucked up. It is huge trigger warnings, huge content warnings. There are scenes of sexual assault a few times, and which are very graphic. There's one of the most graphic stabbing scenes you could possibly imagine. It is messed up.
Isn't that amazing that you mentioned the stabbing scene though? Because I found that one of the most like grotesquely. I've seen all the Saw films recently for some stupid reason, don't I?
I won't.
And they're graphic and personal, but this is animation. It should be a little bit detached, and it's not.
It's the stabbing scene is one of the most graphic things I've ever seen in my life, and like it is extraordinary. I had nightmares over this film, right? And like I hadn't seen it up until we had to do this podcast. Satoshi Kon, like I said, I'd seen Paranoia Agent, but it was a bit of a flaw in my game. And I'll just say that the disorientation is quite extraordinary, and the fact that you don't really, because she tries to move away from being a pop actress, but tries to move away from being a pop star, not a famous one. Like she's sort of performing at semi-big gigs, and then like the stalker, who is like one of the creepiest designed characters you'll ever see, starts to get obsessed with her. And it talks about fame and otaku culture and the idea that like people own you as an entity. And when she tries to change her career and she moves from being this kind of wholesome, like kind of not very successful, but semi pop star to, very, very girly, very like kind of weird Japan, like kind of stuff. And then she tries to move into being a serious actress. And of course she starts hitting all these roadblocks because the director writes in these really fucked up scenes for her to do. And she hates it. And then her fans rebel against it. And then the stalker starts to think that these people, hence the people who write, the writer, not too much of a spoiler, but the writer gets killed brutally. And as a result, because they've got this idea, it's this fandom idea, which is so big in Japan. But even anywhere nowadays, we own them. But what do you mean they're doing something new? This isn't her. This can't be a real version of her where you get the black swan
Totally.
Yeah, like,
idol culture.
Idol
Is
culture.
like extreme. And there's like celebrity culture that I think we can relate to a lot.
Yes.
But like idol culture, particularly K-pop, that kind of thing. I know
Yes.
it's not Japan,
Yes.
but like now modern like K-pop's huge in the West, like BTS.
Oh, BTS.
I fucking love
Yes.
BTS.
I know this. I know
Huge.
podcasting is a very visual medium, so it's very hard to just like what you're saying is so interesting because it's visceral and real. And animation again is supposed to be a little bit like detached from the real world, right?
Which is why
Why do these things evoke so much drama and so much
Right.
apathy and
Yeah. And it's just something that he had done. Again, like you get your Aronofsky's and Del Toro's and stuff.
but they're visuals, aren't they?
The visual,
Yeah.
but the visual side of it is like, again, you get this idea of animations for kids or whatever. We tried to debunk that 1,000 times on this very podcast. But Satoshi Kon's work is some of the most visceral work I've ever seen in anything. And I cannot recommend it enough. It's not a fun time. In fact, it's a very disturbing time. But my God, did it sit with me and made me think. And like, again, there are so many different things going on, like the pop idol thing, the psychological idea, the idea of changing yourself and what you're willing to do that, and what happens when you start to blur your own realities. I mean,
And like, what does it mean to be an actor? What does it mean to be a celebrity? What does it mean to be a woman who has fans? It's a really amazing psychological kind of investigation of that.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know, all of his films are visually incredibly stunning.
Yes.
This one's a bit more low key than Paprika, which
Big
is like
time, yeah. It was
hectic,
later on,
things kind of going on. So, but I think it's influenced a lot of like psychological thrillers and things like that.
Lord.
And without maybe speaking out of turn a bit, Sam, like I think you've got a great spread of films that have started, like they are really the sort of gateway films. And then you've gone through Your Name, which is arguably potentially a live action, but it's so much better as an animation. And then Perfect Blue, which actually allows the exploration of the imagination to happen even further than it could ever happen in a live action.
100%. 100%.
And that's why this medium works so well.
And it's interesting because it has received some criticism, especially Perfect Blue, about being predominantly through the male gaze, but it's also a critique on the male gaze.
I was gonna say, I think that could make sense. That doesn't bother me when I watch it. I think that's like kind of meant to be a thing where the camera gets turned around onto the viewer. So you're like, oh shit, am I the problem? Am I the person who is
100%?
What I was leading to is like, what are your recommendations if you like this? Obviously, Black Swan's a
massive one. I mean, I guess Requiem for a Dream, the Aronofsky films get in there.
Things like The King of Comedy, Joker.
Yeah, to a degree, absolutely. In fact, Joker's a very good call.
Yeah.
Joker's a very good call, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Like anything like that, which is like super, it's very psychological and intense, but like, and dreamlike. So yeah, I honestly couldn't, and I'll leave you with a quote here from Dean Dubois, who is made Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, Hamer, the Sigur Rós doco, I probably mispronounced that, but also the script maker for Mulan. So he said about Satoshi Kon, he said, Satoshi Kon used the hand-drawn medium to explore social stigmas and the human psyche, casting a light on our complexities in ways that might have failed in live action. Much of it was gritty, intense, and at times even nightmarish. Kon didn't shy away from mature subject matter or live action sensibilities in his work, and his films will always occupy a fascinating medium between cartoons and the world as we know it. And I think that's a great way to describe Kon. And I mean, look, I'm just going to sit here and say, watch it. You're not going to have a fun time, but you will experience something.
If you like film.
Yeah.
Real
filmmaker. Such a sad, damn shame he died. He could have been, he would have been the guy. He would have been the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he would have been the guy who came to the West and was the art house anime guy. It's very sad, but he left us with some amazing work. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
Great legacy.
Before we go, I was going to talk about some other anime films that we haven't kind of discussed here. I would say one that I watched recently is Summer Wars.
Yes.
And the director is Mamoru Hosoda. And it's funny because Summer Wars I was watching it and I was like, this is like Digimon. Turns out, same director. He made the Digimon film, which is a banger of a film. And then he went, I don't make it again. I said it last time we recorded. And then.
No, you've said it before. I'm sure you've said someone's told me that the Digimon film is actually decent.
Oh, no, it's amazing, the first one. And that's because it was actually his ideas for a film that he had and he kind of translated it to Digimon. And then when he got some recognition, he decided to make Summer Wars. Summer Wars is really good. He also had The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which is a classic.
Oh, yes.
Another one you should watch. And The Boy and the Beast is another one that people are really...
This was good. I watched
Yeah,
that.
and also one
Beautiful.
that is really, really good, but a little bit kind of strange is Wolf Children.
I've heard this.
A beautiful film, but I think it's the kind of people a bit like, oh, kind of weird bestiality vibes, but watch it. It's really good.
Got
Well,
me-
also at the time,
And Belle, he's made Belle
I'm about to
recently, and
say,
that's
Belle
fun.
just came out at the time of the recording. This, I think it came out a week ago. So that's currently showing in cinemas in Australia.
Big, yeah.
And that's
Huge.
big
That's
raps.
saying
Big
good
raps
job.
up on Belle.
Yeah.
So yeah, worth a look.
Any other recommendations?
Anime films. I mean, yeah, all of Satoshi Kon's work.
I think we should
I want to
probably
eat your
come back
pancreas.
to Satoshi Kon and go through Paprika and
Yeah, we can probably do a standalone episode on him next season because I've only just Perfect Blues, and also that was his first film. You know, he sophisticated
So that was his
himself.
first one?
Yeah. So it's Tokyo Godfathers. Fantastic film as well. And my God, it's very different. Anyway, look, there you are, people. This is our Gateway to Anime episode on anime films. So there's a good bunch to start with. I spoke about Ninja Scroll, obviously, on our Ninja and Samurai episode. Another
That's a
classic
classic.
around this period of time.
Stay away from violence, Jack.
Yeah, stay away from that. There's a few. I mean,
There's a few out there. Like,
Stay away from live action versions of it.
yes, did a whole episode on that as
I
well.
want to eat your pancreas is meant to be really good as well.
One Teacher Pancreas is meant to be fantastic. Terrible name.
I mean, Demon Slayer is awesome, but that's like kind of not what we're counting. It's
Yeah,
like Man of the
it's
Season.
canon.
I still haven't seen it.
Yes, well, we're all
I'm
going to go see Jujutsu Kaisen.
I'm so excited.
I
You
can't
can come
wait.
and see that because you don't need to have watched the series to see it. It's a prequel.
I've heard that. And
Yeah,
I'm
we're going to do that.
looking forward to it.
So, look, thank you all so much. Before we go, I would like to thank some patrons. Now, first of all, let me shout out to one of our best and most favorite patrons, and Grant. Grant, I've been calling you Stuart the whole
Grant
time.
Stewart.
And I'm very sorry because I read the email name wrong. Grant, thank you. Massive appreciation for what you do. Really appreciate it. I would like to thank Curtis. I would like to thank Christian. I'd like to thank Alex, Samantha, Caroline, Ian. Thank you all so much. It means the world to us. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thanks,
They were
guys.
just going to get us scrolling names or something.
Love you.
Look, that's me. It's like Bort Sampson.
Now that we've got
My
cameras
son's
to
name is
dance
also
off,
Bort.
like,
No,
not that I
look,
can
thank
dance.
you so much, everyone. Brett, so good to have you back.
So good to be back.
Good to have the family together. We love talking to you all, and I hope you go watch some anime films after this. And there are so many, and they're so good. They're gateways, and there's some more, which are a bit further down the rabbit hole. Check them out. Enjoy. We'll catch you all next time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.